welcome back. Got 12 inches of snow on the ground. Thought it might be a perfect time for a snow stream. Good afternoon, Mr. Evan, Mr. Landfill. Happy Friday. All right, gentlemen, let's go. Good to see you, Grant. Don't forget, remind me to turn the wiper on. Yes, we're in the skid steer today. A beautiful, beautiful day. It snowed hard all night. It's a little bit wet. Temperature's rising, getting up a little bit. It's about 25 degrees this morning. Now, Logan, I take issue with that. This is certainly not a fedora. This is a crusher. This is a man's hat. This is not a hat for homosexuals. Let us proceed. Yeah, we know everything about Canada is always better than the States. We expect nothing less. What a beautiful morning. Goodness. Evan, great to see you. You're right, Christopher, we are back. Boy, we're fogging up here. Get the defroster on. Mr. Landfill, the Georgia Crazy Cajun in the house. Boy, just like old times. Good to see you, Wyatt. Andrew. Dylan. That's a good question. So I've had a couple. Question is what would be the best, I guess, non-skid steer handheld snowblower? I gotta look at you right there. What I have seen, so we get more snow than, I guess we'll turn this off, so noisy. We get more snow than pretty much, I think the most snow in the state here. So there's a lot of people that have snow removing experience. My personal experience of what I've seen is that the Honda track machine, man, that's the way to go. That's the way to go. I bought the John Deere. I think I ended up selling that to I think we did sell that. The John Deere with the tires on it, nowhere near as good as the Honda. I would wait and cough up the money for the Honda with the tracks. That is truly the machine. Goodness, we have a super chat. We got Honk the Horn. Shout out to the super chat here. Oh, I got a new phone here rigged, so everything's a little bit different here. Jason Barr. Climb into the water this morning. Yeah, I did, Mr. Barr. Actually, I just uploaded a short we unlocked a new level this morning. That's noisy. The water was 33 degrees, and I did a short video on that. So that's up on the channel right now. It was, I'll tell you, I can't believe, when we were getting in the water, I couldn't believe I was actually doing it. When I started doing this, I've done it every day since July 5th. And when we were getting in the water July 5th, it was in the mid 40s or so, and now the water's down to 33. And I just the thought of getting in this in that river when it gets down into the low 30s and there's snow on the ground was just unimaginable. So I kind of played this mental mind game, and I said, well, I don't know if I'm going to do it, for how long I'm going to do it, but I do know I'm going to do it tomorrow. And that's kind of what's got us through it. We actually got in, it was 2 weeks ago, it was 15 degrees outside. The water was about 34, and that was pretty rough. Today the weather was 25, and the water was 33. That's the coldest I've ever been in. And it was an amazing experience, just the euphoria and the camaraderie with the war band. We really enjoy it. So we've done it every single day and plan to, Lord willing. But good to see you, Jason. We have, Jamie's in the house. Jamie says we have a super chat. Where's my horn? Shout out to you, Jamie. Jamie says, Cody, so good to see you. Hope you and your family are doing well. Cheers. Yeah, everybody's doing good. Everybody's doing well. The first snow settling in for winter. And boy, it's certainly here. Definitely certainly here. Oh, goodness. We have a super chat from Mr. Tim Caldwell. Where's my horn? Shout out to you, Tim. Thank you. That's awfully generous of you. Tim writes, Brother Cody, have been loving the videos this week, and what a better way to end the week than a live prayer for you. Can't thank you enough for all of the good messages and the content. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard, man. I'll tell you, it's really hard. I don't know. There's just, I think I mentioned it in a video the other day. There's just a darkness that seems to have descended on, I don't know if it's worldwide, but this country, it's just, sometimes you get up and it's hard to, all the things that you found joy in and all the purpose you found in life, I just found like, what's the point of all of this? You know, and the more your eyes are open, the more God is really revealing things to a lot of people. We're starting to see the frivolity of life, of how much time we've been wasting, and the error and putting so much importance upon acquiring wealth and, you know, the American dream. And when you're losing that and that's slipping away, when God is removing you from that and trying to prepare you for something that's so much better, it's hard to see the big picture. And all you can see is the loss and living in the decline. You know, the good book tells a story when Solomon built God's temple. It was an incredible structure, one of the wonders of the world. And when it was leveled and torn down, and they finally, after years, they finally got together and the children of Israel started to rebuild the temple, there were men alive that had seen the original one. And when they looked upon the foundation stones that had been laid for the replacement, they just wept because of how much smaller and less grand it was. It was just such a disappointment to have something that was so good and then something that's less. And you kind of see that when you know, I'm 54. I was, you know, I don't know that I saw the high water mark of America, but it was probably closer than a lot of you, and to see what has become of the cities and what has become the corruption and it's sad, it's depressing. But I guess the realization that I've come to of late is God has shown me, it's like, don't be melancholy for the past. You know, like the woman was Lot's wife. Lot and his daughters, when Sodom was about to be destroyed, the destroying angels had to drag them out. They were so entrenched in the city. They were so beholden and so accustomed to that lifestyle that they'd had. And even though the angels were coming to save them, all that his wife could see was everything that she was leaving behind, her home and her friends and everything she ever knew, not understanding that staying there would lead to destruction. So, you know, I kind of felt like, we're going through that process. And finally I started to realize now it's like, well, just let it go. Let it go. Don't try to cling to it. Don't try to cling to something that never was that great anyway. God has something in store for us that's better. And just because it's unknown doesn't mean that it's bad. So embrace it. Trust him that he has our best interest in mind, and look forward to the future. So it took me a while to get there, but I can kind of start to see now. I do believe. But thank you, brother. Oh, goodness, we got to back up here. Thank you, Tim. That was awfully generous of you. We have a super chat from, where's my horn? From Mr. Evan. Good to see you, Evan. Evan says, endeavoring through the slough of despond, I feel it too, brother. Every day is a vicious challenge. Yeah, it is. It's a test. And the message, God started giving me the message through his Holy Spirit. And it's 3 words. Be faithful, be faithful, be faithful. Even though you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel yet, just hold on, be faithful. I have something amazing planned for those that love me. Just be faithful, be faithful, be faithful. And that's all I can really cling to. That's where faith comes in. Faith is tough that way. Faith is tough. Mr. Wyatt. Shout out to you, Wyatt. Where's my horn? I got to remember my controls. I almost forgot how to run the machine. Thank you for helping me come closer to God. May God keep blessing your family. Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we have a, oh goodness, what have I done? All right, let us proceed here. Low voltage. We're gonna start. I think I got a bad battery here. All right, let's plow a little snow here before my impeller freezes up. Okay, here we go. No, I'm not voting. I'm done voting. All that is, gentlemen, politics, U.S. politics, the House, or the Republicans, Democrats, all it is bread and circus. It's just there to keep you bamboozled and confused and blind to what's really going on. I have nothing to do with it. I couldn't care less. I don't watch the news. It makes no difference to me. All it is just nonsense. I'll tell you, the verse comes to mind when it comes to voting and elections and such. Let the dead bury their dead. You follow me. I'd rather piss in the wind than vote, for all the good it would do. Yeah, Evan's right, because we have the freedom not to. Well, John, you say that, but I'll tell you, if you're doing what everyone else is doing, I'll give you a little insight. You're not cool. Oh, thank you, Chance. Chance says, hey, Cody, hope you're doing great. Became self-employed last July, largely because of your encouragement. Yeah, there's nothing like it. You'll work harder. You'll work harder than you ever have in your life, but there's something different about it. When you get up, for me anyway, when you get up in the morning, even though you may be, I put in 13 hours yesterday. And it's different. If you had to put in 13 hours for the man or for a paycheck, that would be a terrible thing. But when you do it for yourself, it's a very different thing. I guess what it is for me is that I get up knowing I have to work and do things, but it's because I choose to. If I didn't want to, I didn't have to do it. And that is everything. I'm happy to work 13, 14 hours a day, especially when I'm doing it for myself. But I would not be so willing to do that for a corporation. I wouldn't be willing to do it at all. Goodness, we have Shout out to you. We have a $20 super chat from Berserker Gang, who says, I love your channel. Oh goodness. I'm not a Christian, but I love your videos. However, I do believe you are a good man, and that is what the world needs. That's not a problem. You know, I think some folks wrongfully think that anyone who claims to be a man of the book has something against people that are not Christians. But I'll tell you, I don't feel that way, and I don't believe God feels that way. You know, St. Paul said, let every man be convinced in his own mind. We're going to clean out the driveway over here to the new barn. What a beautiful day. Boy, she's chooching now. She is chooching. Oh, the temperature? About 29 right now. No, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of serrated knives. If you are a guy that doesn't, you know, you don't have the interest of keeping up and sharpening and all that, and you want something that's just going to stay sharp for a long time, you know, they're the best way to go. They stay sharp for a long, long time. But if you're kind of into the sharpening thing, then I think a straight blade's the way to go. Oh goodness, we have a super chat from Mr. Evan. Evan says, I have handmade our children's gifts for Christmas every year. Was inspired from your building of sweet loaves in the past. Anything in the works this year? Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think Christmas should be a craft this year. I'm not opposed to Christmas, but you know, in the giving of gifts and such. You know, let's not confuse that with a true Christian holiday. But there's, you know, we don't have very many customs and a whole lot of culture as Americans, so that's one thing that we kind of do have. But to go into debt and put things on credit cards and the way we've always done things in the past, as expensive and as hard as it is and as expensive as food is, it's just plain irresponsible. So Christmas is going to be a craft for us as well. I've got a couple things in mind. I haven't fleshed it out completely, but I'll do videos on that. But I was going to hand make gifts this year for sure. Thank you, Evan. It's good to see you back. All right, let us proceed. Looks like Mrs. W's in the chat. We have a super chat from Wyatt. Wyatt writes, you will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen. Yeah, it's true, you know, and like King David said in his psalm, you know, even though 1,000 may fall at my left or 10,000 at my right, you know, none shall come near you, that you can be at peace in total chaos. Yep, for me, I was probably thinking for Christmas I'd like to do get the forge fired up and maybe do some candlestick holders or something like that effect. My favorite coffee, I'm not the expert on it, Mr. Brian, you know, he used to be a barista. You know, he really he brings over some pretty fancy stuff. But my favorite when I lived in Portland was pretty much anything from Stumptown. No, I don't think we're going to get any more snow, Brad. It's supposed to warm up. I've never tried roasting my own coffee. Mr. Brian tells me there's not that much to it. And as you guys know, I don't need any more hobbies. When it comes to bullets, I like, well, for the Mark 18, I think that the best ammunition out there is the Hornady 77 grain OTM open tip match. There's that ammunition is just tailor made for the Mark 18 or the 10-3 barrels. It works pretty much perfect in everything. It's a devastating personal defense round. Yeah, it is a bit of a slow process of snow blowing, but the alternative is to go do work. So I'd rather be in my heated seat blowing snow slowly than out doing something else. No, my snow bike, actually, two-strokes don't make very good snow bikes. First off, the biggest you can get is the 300, and it doesn't have the power. It doesn't have the low end, and there's also they just don't have the power and the torque that you need. That grunt. You gotta have the 450. And the 500s are no good either. The 450 motocross bike with the really hot engine, that's what you want. I've got to get my snow bike ready. I've got to do a new brake master cylinder on it, so I'll do a video on that. We can talk about that a little bit. But I put quite a bit of work last year into the exhaust and ECU and engine on my bike last year, where it's, you know, pushing up close to over 70 horsepower. With the additional horsepower on the bike, it made such a difference. I picked up a whole gear. I can ride in one gear taller than I normally could. It's an absolute beast. And the exhaust is 2-inch. It's got a 2-inch exhaust on it. It's absolutely ferocious. I'll do a video on that for you guys. Let us proceed. Now, there's not too much to show inside the new shop. You know, it's basically just storing equipment right now. We're going to put the solar, Mr. Jiraiya and I are doing, got everything ordered for the solar, and as soon as the rest of the pieces come in, we'll be doing that. So we'll be inside the shop then. because there's no power in there currently. Good afternoon, Mr. Overton. Shout out to Overton. He's had a lot of success with his YouTube channel. He's over 100,000 subscribers now in a very short amount of time. He got there way quicker than I did, so that's quite an amazing accomplishment. It's not easy to do. It might even be harder to do now than it was when I did it. If you can get 100,000, you can get 1 million. Welcome, Mark, our newest member. We have a super chat from Mr. Hobby Patrick, who writes, would you ever consider a small group elk hunt with subscribers, or do you hunt at all these days? I've never hunted. No, I probably wouldn't. I haven't hunted for a long time, and I keep threatening to. Jack and I talked about it, maybe doing it this fall, but it just didn't happen. But I don't know. You talk about it, and then when the time comes to do it, it's always a different thing. Boy, if beef gets any more expensive, it might become a necessity. No, I'm not barefoot. I don't think it's. I wear barefoot shoes. I found these barefoot shoes that they're called magic shoes, I believe, and they're made in Poland, and they're the best shoes I've ever had. I'm wearing them right now, but I don't think it's healthy to be barefoot in cold weather. But the barefoot shoe is the next best thing. Well, speaking of G19, Mr. Peter works at a gun store, and he had a guy that traded in a peanut butter, a G19X peanut butter slide, because he had upgraded to a different slide, or an aftermarket slide, and I traded him. We did some trading, and I have it now, and I want to have it milled for an RMR. So if you guys can contact me or recommend someone that I could trust that would do a good job of milling that slide for me, that'd be cool, because that way I don't have to mill the one that came with it. I like to leave stuff stock, and then I can put an RMR on there, and Peter and Mr. Brian both have RMRs on theirs, and that seems like the way to go for sure. The carry ammo that I use is, boy, my mind just went blank. It's, I think it's Hornady Critical Defense. You can imagine a Bridgeport. I don't know that that'd be a quick way to destroy a slide and put me on a milling machine with no training. tell you about shoes. I was just having a discussion with Mrs. W. I'll show you these shoes. These are the best shoes I've ever had. They're so this is called a barefoot shoe. It's a silly looking thing, but they're so good. It is a barefoot shoe. Has a real wide toe box in it. So if you look at people that have never worn shoes before, indigenous folk, their toes are really splayed out, and their feet are very strong. I think that the advent of shoes and pointy shoes that force your toes together, like especially cowboy boots, anything like that, is a tool of the devil. And then the heels, putting your feet up on heels. What I have always suffered, not always, but for a long time, I've suffered with my hips getting out of alignment. I constantly going into a chiropractor, and he's always telling me my hips are rotating forward the wrong way. And he'd tell me, oh, you need to change your stance and such. And what I believe this to be, I'm not a doctor, I don't know for sure. This is just my personal opinion. I'm of the opinion that so many years standing on stacked heel boots and shoes have thrown my body out of alignment. So I don't know, since I decided to ditch shoes and go barefoot and wear barefoot shoes, I haven't had back pain. I don't even think about it anymore. It's cured all of that. It's cured my hip alignment. And another thing is, like in the wintertime, the last few weeks or so, I spend all day in the shop walking on a concrete floor, and I wear these. Or I go barefoot if it's not too cold. And my feet are not sore. My feet don't hurt. My athleticism is better. My feet have gotten a lot stronger. My toes are starting to take on their normal shape, in addition to the benefits of grounding, which I think is not anything to turn your nose up at either. But these are really good. They're made in Poland, and I think they're called magic shoes magic shoes. They have all different types, but I love these, and the fact that you can lace them up and they have a zipper like a beetle boot is really handy for putting them on, because they're really quick, and they're really warm too. They're fleece lined, so they're excellent for winter. I mean, it's pretty cold out. My feet never get cold, even without socks. They're really wonderful shoes. How come we're not starting here? Oh man, putting in the code every time I turn it off. Oh, there we go. Walk out. No. There we go. Okay. Well, we're all messed up here, gentlemen. All right, let's proceed here. Yeah, the temperature, the sun's come out, and I can definitely feel the snow has changed just since we've been out here. It's gotten a lot heavier. It takes a lot of power. I'll split the trail here, that'll make a difference. We don't do Santa, never have. I think it's a disservice to lie to your children about a fake Santa. We never did it with Jack, and I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not judging anyone, but I think it's wrong to lie to your children about things like that. I know we can process it as adults, like we can separate what's make-believe from not, but it's a pretty disappointing thing for a child to realize that it's not true, and then also to wrestle with the fact that his parents, the ones that he's supposed to trust the most, have lied to him about something. I think it's a terrible thing to do. My parents did it, but they didn't know better, I guess. Who knows? How much responsibility did the boomers have? Yeah, you can see how heavy that snow is there, gentlemen. Christmas is not the Lord's birthday either, so I'm not anti-Christmas, but let's keep it into perspective. Goodness, we have a live stream from Daniel Goodzek. Shout out to you, Daniel. Thank you for your live stream. Just picked up an MS-261. Are you running a 25? Yes. Yeah, so that that 261 is a small professional saw. The 25 is really a nice size. I've ran it's a bit long. It's on the long side for sure. I would run either a half skip or a full skip chain, rather than that way you keeps your chain speed up a little bit and helps with it. But it doesn't have you can't really get after it with the 25, or maybe the newer ones you can. But the reason why I did that is I'm pretty tall, so bending over and limbing is hard on my back. So I got that longer bar so I could keep a more upright position when I was limbing. But I wasn't trying to buck and put a big load on it. I understood that it was a little bit overbarred. Yeah, I do have I've had the iPhone 15 for, I guess, a couple weeks now. It's pretty much all I shoot on. It's a good phone, but it does have a problem. It shuts off and restarts about 5-6 times a day, and I don't know why. I don't know what a log codec is. On the topic of atheism, I don't have a scripture for this, but I'd make the argument that then I think that the New Testament makes the argument that God would prefer a man to be an atheist over a fence sitter, a middle of the roader. You know, he says in the good book, I'd rather you be hot or cold, but the fact that you're lukewarm, I vomit you out of my mouth. There's example after example in the Old and the New Testament of God lifting up people and actually using them as examples. The unjust judge, for example, of wisdom and common sense. You know, at least make a decision, choose a side. I think God looks more favorably on someone that chooses a side, that's looked at the argument, done his research, made a decision and went with it, than someone that's professing to be a Christian and not doing it very well. You know, I don't know. Again, that's just my opinion. Because just because you're an atheist doesn't mean you'll always be an atheist. Blowing the snow in the skid steer is really nice because it's really warm in here. It's got a heated seat. The best time is when you do it at night with the lights on. I really enjoy that the most, or early in the morning when it's still dark. Yeah, Andre. Yeah, we're actually the Sweet Loaf. We're gonna teach her how to ski this year. So I think Mrs. W, if she hasn't already, she's talking about getting passes. As far as snow biking, yes, we plan on snow biking. Actually, probably maybe Sunday. I'm gonna bring the snow bike in because I've got to do some work on it. I stole the master cylinder, the brake master cylinder off of it for my dirt bike because I couldn't get the parts. And I've got a new one, and I haven't put it on yet. So I've got to put that on and bleed the whole system and just go over mine. I got to adjust the valves on Jack's bike and a whole bunch of stuff. Jack, we did that 24-hour endurance race a couple weeks ago. Jack blew up his brand new KTM. It was just one of those things, you know. It was he had a bad crash and he broke the case. This was at nighttime. Broke the side of the case and all the oil leaked out, and he didn't know it because it was dark. And you know, when you're racing, you know, there's just an intensity that you don't normally have, and he seized it. So real heartbreaking, real shame. But that's racing. Yeah, I've heard question on the KTM has gone downhill or the quality's not there. I don't know. I've heard that. Yeah, maybe more so than ever. I think that the carbureted bikes, 2018 bikes, were the high water mark as far as simplicity and durability, quality. That's why I'm reluctant to replace my 300, because it's just so superior in so many ways. I completely rebuilt everything last year, so it's like a brand new bike. Lighter, way better fuel economy. It's got a Kickstarter. Good to see you, Amanda. There goes a dog. Is that Mr. Peter's dog? Oh, it looks like my mailbox was taken out. That's pretty standard. Yeah, it's time for a new mailbox. Mrs. W has been on me to order one. It's been beat up by the snowplow so many times, and it's definitely done now. Thank you, East Coast Man. You've taken on the mantle of East Coast Man. So let's go plow the road. widen the road down. We'll take you down to the tent. We'll see what's going on down there. Boy, it was cold this morning. As Peter said, we unlocked a new level, 33 degrees. Every morning we have a river on the northern border of our property. And since July 5th, me and my two friends, every morning at 7:30 we meet there and we do the cold water plunge. And this morning was the first time we did it with deep snow. And it was 33.3 degrees, I believe. Goodness, it was cold. 3 minutes. We don't have milk, but our neighbor to the north that shares our property line has a dairy, so we get our milk from him. No, I've never hunted duck with 20 millimeter. I think 12 gauge is the biggest. We used to hunt, I think there was a guy that I used to hunt Canadian geese, and we had a guy, I believe, that had a 10 gauge. That was a big old boom stick. All right, we're gonna head on down. We'll head on down to the river and see what's going on down there. The best quality of car brand is Toyota. A little deep there. Nissan. Nissan is a starter car for girls. Not something Proho wants to be driving permanently. Now, if you're in a situation where you're temporarily in a Nissan, you know, that's fine. But you want to get out of that Nissan when you can. Those little Xterras that's a pretty good little rig. It's good four-wheel drive performance, a nice size, affordable. I think those are pretty decent. Goodness, we have a super chat from Vincent. Vincent writes, "Hey, I'll swap you 33 degrees here in Australia." Is that the metric system? Now, Vincent, you should know better than to be bringing the metric system here. We don't do that. Metric system is of the devil. We have a super chat from Mr. Overton. Overton writes, "It's amazing you reached 2 hours from nowhere meeting with guys who got a 5-mile range. He's a big fan of your channel. I'll give him your hairpiece." Okay. Thank you, brother. I think it's going to be a cold winter, gentlemen. Boy, we have been burning firewood. Going through firewood at a prodigious rate. It's been cold here. Man, it's been cold. a super chat from Mr. Ben. Ben writes, my cousin Leanna lives up the street from you. Here's for some grease for the skid steer. God bless him. I sure appreciate that. Thank you, brother. Oh, and a $20 super chat from Walnut Alley says, hello from Northern Indiana. Great to see the live stream again. I have been missing them. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. That's very generous of you. Yeah, Mr. Overton, he's been all over me about getting the live stream up and going again. We're going to have to do that. Goodness, we have a super chat from Dr. Prepper. Good morning. Good to see you, Dr. Prepper. Very good to see you back. I got my phone turned around. I have a different mount system. I'm used to looking to the left, so I keep not making eye contact here. I got to learn to look to the right. I got a Super Skookum mount. I bolted it into the skid steer, so it should be a lot more stable. Plus, the new iPhone, the 15, is a good phone. So if you look right in front of us, you'll see the tent. So that's where we meet every morning. The boys come over about 7:30, and we start a fire, and then we visit for about a half hour or so, 15 minutes, half hour, and then we do our cold water plunge. And then when we get out, the tent is nice and warm. The wood stove, I got a bunch of questions about that lately. The wood stove I have is it's a hybrid stove. Oh goodness, what am I doing here? Wipers. It's a hybrid wood stove. So a hybrid is oh man, I'm dropping big glasses. I gotta fix something here. So your wood stove, you have the old school ones were it was just a big steel or cast iron envelope. Nothing really to it, maybe a basic baffle system, but because of the EPA, you have to have essentially a catalytic converter in there, a reburner, and a lot of those they don't work all that well. They don't work as good as the other ones, and you gotta be really careful with what you put in them. You can't burn cardboard that has glue in it. You can't burn anything that has paper in it, because there's a real tight honeycomb in there. All that stuff will clog up, and it can be quite expensive. So what's cool about the one I have is it's a hybrid, so it's got a bypass. So it's got a lever on the back where you can bypass that when you're starting, and it makes it easier to start. And you can run it that way as well. But it's made by Hearthstone, and it's the Green Mountain 80. When I purchased that a couple years ago, that was the biggest one that they had, and I believe it's rated to heat up to 5,000 square feet, which is bigger than my shop is. So my shop is 40 by 40, and it's a steel building, and it's insulated, and it keeps it pretty warm. Yeah, no problem. I mean, right around in my work area, after lunch or so, it's usually around 69, 70 if it's in the 20s outside. And I have to say, it's a good stove, as good as a new stove can be. I don't have any complaints. Would I buy it again? Yeah, I probably would. I don't know that I would buy anything different. It's also, the other thing that's cool about the Hearthstone is kind of their thing is making soapstone stoves. And this is a steel stove, but the whole envelope is lined with thick soapstone. And soapstone is really nice because it's really an incredible material because it holds heat. So when the fire goes out, it radiates for a long time. The downside is it takes a little bit longer to heat up than a cast iron, but it has a lot more even heat. And it's not so scalding hot. So if you have kids, I'm not going to say that anyone, you can't touch it. You know, the surface of it will be 500-600 degrees when it's chuching. But it's not so hot that if you were to, you know, it's just a lot safer. Definitely a lot safer. And the heat radiates, it's a better heat. It's not so intense. It's not feast or famine, hot and cold, hot and cold. It's a lot more even. That's the second soapstone, that's the second Hearthstone stove I've had, and we really like them. They're really good. Still working out my mount here. Oh, Brand, the East Coast, making fun of East Coast guys, it's just fun. You know, I don't know what guy doesn't understand this, but if you've ever been around groups of guys, the guys that you like the most are the guys that you rib, that you give a hard time with. You banter back and forth. I don't know what's happened to people's sense of humor. You know, have you become so fragile that you can't understand that? That's what men do. I expect, you know, women wouldn't understand this. They don't operate that way. But to take offense to that is foolish and childish. I don't have anything against East Coast guy. It's something that we started a long time ago. We banter back and forth and we have fun with it. It's just a fun thing and what we've done for years, and it's comedy. So there isn't anything to it other than that. Of course I like East Coast man. But he is soft in the head. Let's not pretend he's not. Or soft in the brain, hard in the head. That'd be better. Well, we're blowing wet concrete right now. Smooth in the brain. There you go. That's a better way to put it. Yeah, I'm not saying you were offended. A lot of people are. And as you know, I'm a petulant child, so the more someone reacts to something, the more I'm going to do it. Yeah, I had the misfortune of living in Florida for a year, so I know all about East Coast, man. Yeah, it's true, Wesley. I've always admitted it. But a child knows how to have fun and is curious about things and enjoys and lives life too. Instead of just becoming an old fuddy. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. To know you have the ability to grow. So Dave is asking a question. I can't read the long questions. If you have a question, if you could just make it as short, as brief as possible, because I got a whole bunch of things I'm trying to do at one time here. Speaking of Spyderco, you guys are probably already too late, but Mr. Brian is a huge Spyderco fanboy. And when he came over this morning for the river dip in the tent, he brought his laptop and was asking me, he was trying to connect to my internet he asked me to turn on my hotspot on my phone because it was 8 o'clock Pacific, and it was Spyderco was having their annual sale. And so he logged on, was checking to see if there's anything on there. So Spyderco's having a tremendous sale. Like they were selling like Spyderco Para 3s that were factory blemishes for $56, and regular Para 3s, the USA ones, they were selling for like 79 or 80. But you might be too late. I don't know if there's anything left. I didn't need anything because, you know, I only carry the Benchmade 940. Since I lost my Spyderco. Oh, and I carry my actually there's a knife that I like. I carry more than I carry my Microtech more now than I carry my 940. That Microtech is my favorite carry knife presently. But you might jump over there and check on Spyderco's website and see if they have anything left. I don't know. Thank you, Mr. Vincent. Shout out to you. Wanted me to jump out and we'll go over there and look at the tent and the river real quick, or should we just keep plowing? Let me know. Either we can go look at it or I'll turn around and we'll go back the other way. Yeah, we can stretch our legs a little bit. I got it. Better setup here. But oh boy, man, getting out of the skid steer when it's all snowy is like climbing over a barbed wire fence. Most of you guys have seen this here, but so this is where we meet in the morning. This is a 14 by 16 tent I built. I'm so glad I built it up on this platform. That's been really nice. I still haven't got my stairs built. I've been meaning to get out here and do it, but the weather's been so bad. So what I'm gonna do, I don't care if it's cold, but I don't like working out in the rain anymore. I had to do that for so many years. But I'm gonna build either full length steps, 2 steps down to the water. You can see right here, or maybe just a couple boxes and just do a single one. I've got this terrible, as Mr. Peter calls them, the Fisher, is it the Fisher Price? Fisher Price plastic stairs, which are treacherous. So we come in here and bring our firewood in, and then start the stove up. There's not a whole lot of stuff in here. I worked in here in the summertime, but now that it's so cold, I don't come down here near as often. We just use it for our morning dips. So we get the fire going. Everybody hangs out, dry our stuff off, and then we come down here and we get in. The water is 33. It was 33.3 degrees this morning. When the middlemen were here last summer, I think it was in the mid 40s or so, and it was pretty cold then. But I'll tell you, it doesn't sound like it's a big difference between 44 and 33, but I can tell you that it is a tremendous difference. It is very, very cold. And this is dropping every day now, so this will get down. Mr. Peter got in this water 6 times last year. That must have been like January, where it was below freezing. So the water will get down to 31 degrees. It gets so cold that ice starts to form on the bottom, on the rocks and such. So we all have our spots. We go down here. I've got to put some steps in here because I almost slid down and fell in this morning. We all did. It was so slippery. Mr. Brian gets in right there. It's his spot. And then I go there next to that rock. And then Mr. Peter goes over there. How long? Well, in the summertime, switch hands. In the summertime, usually 10 minutes. 10 minutes in the summertime when the water is in the mid to low 40s. And then when it started getting really cold, when it got down into the 30s, we decided to go to 3 minutes because 10 minutes was too long. We were so cold and our feet were so frozen that we could hardly get out of the water. And I don't think it's good to be in that water that long. So we went to 3 minutes. We've been talking lately whether or not we should even curtail that a little bit. So I'm making the argument that if and when the water dips below 32, that we'll cut it to 90 seconds. But as for now, as it stands, we're going to do 3 minutes. We do 3 minutes. And it really works out probably more like 4, because Mr. Peter's the timekeeper and he doesn't put up with any nonsense, because I try to malinger a little bit on the bank and eat up some time, but he doesn't start the time until we're all in. So, an interesting thing that Brian, actually this was recommended by several of you guys in the comments. Mr. Brian started something new last week, and what we would typically do is we'll get in, and you get in, right around your shoulders or so, and hang out there. You can't put your hands in. I can't anyway. None of us can. Your hands hurt too bad, so we keep your hands up. Your hands and your feet suffer terribly. And we would do the time, and then at the right before we got out, you dip in the water. You have to go underwater. It doesn't count if you don't go completely submerged. Well, he started going underwater right off the bat when we first got in. And I did that this morning for the very first time. I was resisting it. I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to spend 3 minutes in that cold water with a wet head. But I'll tell you, it's better. It's easier. The best way to do it is to get in the water, immediately go under, submerge, and it makes it easier. And then you don't have the dread. That's the big dread of knowing at the very end of it, when you're suffering, that you still have to submerge your head and go under, is almost unbearable. So to get it out of the way right off the bat is best. I'm convinced of that. It's too cold out here. I don't have my coat on. It's a chance I'm gonna lose my glasses. All right, let's see. Hold on. Okay. Hello, Hanky Mountain. Rocky Mountain says, do you think my title tag under 100K house with my home remodel is a good tag to roll with or grow on YouTube? I've been into car stuff. What's the title tag? Under 100K house? Yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. You know, there's going to be a need for that, for affordable housing. I saw something that I've never seen before. It's probably been going on, maybe the first time I saw it was a couple weeks ago, but people actually renting, you know, people have rented rooms in houses for a long time. People are renting bedrooms, trying to find someone that could come in and share the cost of they're renting a bedroom. That's how bad it's getting. So people are looking for alternatives. I mean, with interest rates as high as they are and the lack of homes for first-time buyers, something's got to give. The traditional way is not working. Just working harder is not going to do it. So people, you have to have a place to live. You can't live out on the streets. So there's going to need to be alternatives. So that either means communal living or alternative construction or really downsizing or something smaller. So if you could start a channel that would, you don't even have to be an expert. I think it actually is better not to be an expert sometimes, where you can document, hey, this isn't working. This is not an option for me to go. I can't buy a $500,000, $750,000 house, but I need something for my family. This is what we're doing, and encourage people, learn together, build that community. I think that would be a beautiful opportunity. I think that's a great idea for a home right now, especially if you're in it. And just share, again, you don't need to be an expert, just share what you're doing. And I think a lot of people would be interested in that. It's a great idea. Probably could plow out Mrs. W's ski trail here. We'll do a circle around here and head on back. Boy, 2.5% mortgage. I don't know if I've heard of an interest rate that low before. That's incredible. All right, we got some fresh snow here. Mrs. W likes me to do a circuit around here so she can ski. Of course I'm milking the job. If I'm not here doing this, I've got to actually go do real work. I'm not a fool. That's right. The Cajun knows. That's why he's the alpha of the group here. There's no substitute for experience, and being a boomer, the Cajun's got experience with spades. Mrs. W, is she still in the chat? I wanted to know if she got the reservations I was asking about. And what time? That looks like a frozen lake, but it's not. Goodness. We have a super chat from Hanky Mountain who writes, I can do videos after we're in a budget outside things too. Should I do a regular videos or short? You know, that's the question. You know, what is the best thing to do? You know, Mr. Overton and I were talking about this just the other day. It changes. You know, just when you figure out something that's working really good, it'll change on you. But currently, you know, we were both kind of the opinion. I think that they have not been favoring long content for a long time, and that's kind of why I quit doing it, because it just would get buried. But it seems that I think people are getting a little tired of the short content, and people want. I think you got to make good quality content and a good mix of it. If you could do, you know, I don't know what your schedule is, but if you could keep regular uploads, try to do 3 a week or so. If you could do Monday through Friday and maybe do 2 long forms and then shorts in between, you know, whatever works with your schedule, but just alternate. Do a short and do a long, and I think that mix, maybe mix in a live stream once a week on Fridays or so. When your channel starts growing, where you can address questions and start, you know, building your community. But I would say almost right now, kind of what I'll be focusing on, probably 50-50 mix of the short and the long form content is I think is best. I prefer to carry a pocket knife, and the reason for that is that you know, I work from home, and if I need a pair of pliers or, you know, the tools that you'd find on a multi-tool, I'd just as soon go get a proper one out of my toolbox. Now, if I was away from home, you know, and working someplace else, and you know, I might consider carrying a multi-tool because I wouldn't have access to my normal tools. But for me, it's just too heavy. It doesn't fit very well with my skinny jeans. Goodness, we have a super chat from Adrian's, Adeline's dad, who writes, I know I will read. I gotta slow down. I know I will make fun of me. See, you guys don't help me out with your punctuation here and bad spelling. I'm not casting stones. I live in a glass house when it comes to that. I'm a stay-at-home father. My wife is a surgeon. Any advice for stay-at-home fathers with daughters? What? Not having done it, that question would be better addressed to Mrs. W. I have not been in that role before. Having a daughter, yeah, I don't, just spend time, play with them. It's tough. I don't know if I can answer that. Ask Mrs. W. She's in the chat. She can help you out better than me. Mrs. W does the heavy lifting. Uh-oh. Did we get clogged up? Uh-oh. Not paying attention. Sometimes that clears it. Oh, we're clogged up, gentlemen. And I don't have my declogger. That's bad. Oh, goodness. Look at that. Let me jump out there and see if I can fix it real quick. I should have brought my stick. Oh, we're all messed up. The snow's getting super heavy. Stand by. Oh, that snow is like concrete. This is what happens. I know when to give up on it. If this doesn't clear, we're going to pack it in, because this will just happen over and over again. Pacific Northwest is not snow blowing country. Jar it loose, maybe. Try it one more time. I think we might be done. I don't have to do this, and I'm not going to struggle and fight with it. Yeah, the Lucas Mill's in the shop, but I was thinking about, boy, it's hard to find logs. No one wants to sell logs anymore. Yeah, we're totally clogged up. All right, we're going to pack it in, gentlemen. We'll head back. It's hard to find logs to mill. And of course, you know, people can't have that, even though this country supposedly belongs to the people, and there is millions and billions of board feet to the north that goes endlessly to the Canadian border. You can't have any of it. It all belongs to the government or private companies. It's the king's forest, and if you try to go up there and cut it, they'll throw you in jail or fine you. It's hard to even imagine that a man can't go up and cut a log, mill it into a board, and build a house. You know, you think you're free? When you really step away from it and start to look at the restrictions on us and how few things we can do without permission of Big Daddy government or the state or some corporate entity, we have very little freedom. We're basically debt slaves. So, the point being is if I can get I don't need a bunch of them. If I could just get a trailer, my own flatbed trailer full of logs, some 14s or 16s, I want to mill all the material for those, build some really cool timber frame steps on the front of the tent platform. But it's hard to come by. Yeah, well, you know, it's getting to that point, you know, don't ask permission. You know, you're not the only one that has been giving that a lot of thought as well. You're not the only one. If there were enough of us that would just start doing it, then you know, there wouldn't be any way they could stop it. But who's going to be first, right? Who's going to be the first one? The first one will be made an example of. Mr. Freddie. Freddie says, I wrote a rap song for Wranglerstar and sent it to your inbox. Revolution thinks. Freddie quotes. Freddie, I don't check my email. It's just gotten completely out of control, all the spam and everything. Resend that, and Mrs. W, I'll have her also, maybe she can set that aside or star that for me, and I'll see if I can find that. Bucking Billy Ray. I've never spoken. I absolutely would. I've never spoken to him. I don't think I've never had any communication with him at all. But I like his channel. He's well, he really knows really knows what he's doing. He seems like a really good dude. I've heard from people that do know him or are real fans of his channel and say he's quite a super good guy. Yeah, I don't know what I could. There's not much I could offer when it comes to that. You know, he's definitely my better when it comes to tree falling, and I'm more of a self-taught amateur. But I would absolutely. I don't even know where he lives. Is he a local? Is he a PNW guy? He must be. There are no real loggers on the East Coast. In the weeds here. Oh, he's in Canada. I didn't know he was Canadian. I know Stanley. Mrs. W and I have met Stanley several 2 or 3 times. He's a really nice dude. He's a good guy. The Dirt Monkey. Oh, I missed some super chats? Oh, goodness. Let me see here. Where are they? Let me back up here a little bit. I'm scrolling. Beep, beep, AC. Shout out to you. Thank you. I hope you're still here. Oh, the Battle Chemist. There we go. The Battle Chemist writes, I got my Washington motorcycle endorsement last month. Had to test in the pouring rain. Looking forward to riding more next year. Yeah, you got to come down and ride with us again. You know, I got my motorcycle endorsement when I was like 17 or 18. And then, because I started riding motorcycles on the street when I was 16, street bikes. And then I was not very responsible through my teen years and such, so I let my license expire, and I had to go back and retake the test, and I never did retake the endorsement test. So I rode motorcycles on my whole life. Well, maybe I should be careful what I say, but Mrs. W, when she insisted that when Jack got a street legal bike, that he get his endorsement and everything be above board, and she signed. I didn't want to do it, but she signed me up to take the class with him, and I did it, and I was glad I did. It's quite nice to have it. So I finally got my endorsement as well, but boy, it was a whole lot harder the second time than it was back in the day. Back in the day, they just watched you ride around the parking lot and didn't fall. If you didn't fall over, you got your endorsement. But we had to take a test and all for half a day, better part of a day, and obstacle course and all this stuff. It was quite comprehensive, and not everyone passed. Jack and I passed it, but there was a couple in our group that didn't pass. One person even crashed. Now we'll go up here. We're going to head back to the barn, gentlemen, and we'll call it a day. The snow is just too heavy. Yeah, the Dirt Monkey is he's a entrepreneurial hustler, man. He knows how to make money. I would any advice you got from him, I would take it to heart. He's killing it. He's just a pretty smart guy. We'll go do a little stroll along the river on our way back here. Are you screwed if you live on the East Coast for the coming struggle? I'm not the expert on the East Coast. They always are fond of reminding me that they have mountains and country, but just there's so many people. My concern would be that there's going to be a lot of competition for resources. But the more I go on, I don't know that. I've always kind of thought that we would have some huge event, and we may. Who knows? Some catastrophic event, everything will go bad. But it seems more likely it's just going to be a slow decline, and things will just slowly get worse and worse. And the separation between the haves and the have-nots is going to increase drastically. It's going to be similar, if I had to guess, more like a banana republic or a third world nation where you have the majority of the population living in extreme poverty or at or near it. And then you have a class of wealthy that live in walled communities that separate themselves and feed off of the poor. That's more likely I think the blueprint for what we have to look forward to. I would, if I lived on the East Coast, I would probably, it's hard to say, I don't know what your family ties are and how important it is to you, but I would probably make a long-term plan of getting myself out to a more rural location, wherever that would be, whether it be Midwest or up at North or where have you, where you have the ability to have a little bit more freedom, have a little bit of land where you can start growing some of your own food, offset the cost of food, firewood, all the things that come along with the country rural lifestyle. The people are going to be more community minded, more friendly, less competition for resources. It's hard to say. It's hard to give advice, and I don't know the guy's circumstances and your age and what you can and what you're willing to do. Well, the snow is heavy. It must be well above freezing right now. I think what I might do is dump the snowplow off, or the snowblower off, and throw a rope on the back and pull the Sweet Loaf around on her sled. Oh, the van? That's my van. No, that's an interesting. So Overton's asking, I think it was yesterday's video showing those carbide studs you can put in the tracks. If I try studding the tire on the one wheel, man, my one wheel two of my one wheels have become death machines. It ghost rides. It scares me to even ride the thing anymore. I think that there's been there's a software update. I just haven't got around to doing it. Now, I don't know that the tread, I don't know how thick the tread is on that, but I don't think that the tread's going to be thick enough. But boy, wouldn't that be cool? That would be something else to have a studded tire on a one wheel. I'd actually quite enjoy that. Goodness, we have a super chat from Mr. Gamer Dave. Where's my horn? Shout out to you, Gamer Dave. Welcome back. I appreciate that. Missed you and been a little worried about you. Oh, we're doing all right. We're doing all right. I'll make the decision on what we're gonna do with the live stream. I don't know if I'm gonna do dailies, but maybe curtail it a little bit. But maybe we can start on Fridays or have something, or maybe a couple days a week. I'm not gonna make any commitment right now, but I'm moving in that direction. I think that's inevitably what we're gonna end up doing. Oh, and Kevin, good to see you, Kevin. Shout out to you. Kevin says, I missed the stream, the struggle stream. Hearing manly advice and the good word was affirming and helpful. Hope we can see more of that. Yeah, I appreciate that, and we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. We'll figure something out. Overton's been all over me about this. I know. It was kind of a tougher thing in the winter time because of we were doing it at 2 o'clock. It falls in the middle of the day, and there's so little time to work, and it's hard to get start a project just kind of when you get tooled up and just start going, then you have to shut down and do the stream. So I don't know what the solution to that is. My mornings are so busy. Maybe something more later, maybe after work, and keep it to an hour or something to that effect. But also, I don't want it to run into 6-7 o'clock at night, and not have time for supper, and I want to be usually about 6-7 o'clock. I want to pretty much be done. I've been going to bed at 7:30. But it's so dark so late. It's a little bit different in the wintertime. We'll work it out. We'll figure something out. We can definitely do that. Yeah. Maybe the evening that might maybe do it. But I don't think I can't see it happening every day. But maybe we can start on Fridays or do a Sabbath evening stream, and see where it goes and work that out. Fridays actually work out pretty good. As I try to Friday, I like to cut off a little bit early. Like to be done or have a little bit lighter day, and I definitely certainly have more free time in the afternoon on Friday. So we could probably work that in. Yeah, you come in and it gets dark so early, and like sometimes it's like 6:30, and I look at Mrs. W and I look at each other. It's like, would it be too early to go to bed now? I figure if 7:15, I can't go to bed before 7:30. That's something wrong with that. Psycho Mike, shout out to you. Psycho Mike says, I found you with your videos saying goodbye to an old friend at a time I was becoming sober. It has helped save my life and marriage. Thank you from Spokane. I appreciate that. I sure do. It's very encouraging to hear that. Oh, we have a Sweet Loaf out with her sled. All right. She's coming over here wanting me to pull her on the quad. So I'm going to sign off, gentlemen. Thank you for hanging out with me, and thank you for your generosity and the super chats and all of your encouragement. It's been very helpful to me. And I'll think long and hard about that live stream, but see if we can't do this on Fridays. We have a special guest here. Is it time for the sleigh? All right. I'm signing off. All right, gentlemen. May God bless you and your families. Please pray for us, and we'll get the live streams going. And maybe this coming Friday, I'll make an announcement on that, and we can do that and ease back into it. Mr. Gamer Dave, before we go, abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself except it abide in the vine. No more can you except ye abide in me. That's a perfect way to end the live stream. That scripture verse was really snapped into focus to me. A lot of the agricultural references in the Bible and the shepherd and the sheep and the grapes and all that are kind of hard to relate to if you didn't grow up in that or grow up around sheep and such. And the thing that really solidified that verse that you just shared with us was when we were clearing the forest at the previous homestead we were at. And we were limbing up the trees for fire mitigation and all the fir trees, and we'd pile them up into these big green these big green piles, and the smell, how it is with pine trees and fir trees and such. And you come back a week later and it would start to be turning brown, and then you come back a couple months later, it was all the green was completely gone, it was completely brown, and the needles would fall off. And it just dawned on me, that's it right there. At the moment you separate that branch from the tree, the tree is the life giver. It can't survive on its own. And that's that analogy. Christ is the tree, is the trunk of the tree, and we are those branches. And when we separate ourselves from him, we start to wither and to die. We start to fade away. He's the life giver, the life force. It comes from him. And when I looked upon that pile and I saw that, and God, Holy Spirit really spoke to me, like, there you go, that you got to stay connected. You got to stay connected. If you're struggling with depression and sadness and you're black-pilled and you just don't, what's the point of all of this? There's no hope. I know for me, when I get in that mode, and I get in that mode regularly, it is a direct result of disconnecting, not spending time in prayer, not fasting, not spending time in the Word. We all know these things. We all know it, and it's tough, because you get plugged into God, and you start to enjoy the peace that defies understanding, and you start, regardless of your circumstances, you have contentment, and you have a peace and a joy of life, and you are enjoying things even when things can be bad, that defies logic. And people will even notice it. Why are you so happy? What do you have to smile about? Everything's falling apart. What are you happy about? Well, that's, if you've never experienced it, it's hard to relate to that. But even though so we'll plug into God and we'll enjoy that and start getting that life, that life force, that peace. And then you think, well, I'm doing good here. And then you start slacking, not spending time in the Word, not spending time in prayer, going forward on the inertia of what God provided for you when you were plugged into him. And then the engine starts to conk out. You start to, you coast and you come to a grinding halt. Then you sit there in a heap of ashes and ruins, wonder, my God, why have you forsaken me? God hasn't forsaken you. He was there the entire time. You unplugged yourself from that, and you are responsible for it. And I'm the chief of sinners when it comes to that. I'm so independent, and I want to do my own thing, and it's like, thanks for the recharge, God. Now I'm going to go forward and go on my own path. And then you wind down, low down, and pretty soon you find yourself in a dark despair. And it's not because God has forsaken you per se. It's more that you've just walked away. That's my personal experience anyway. But that's it. I mean, that's the ebb and flow. That's the roller coaster ride that we do. The children of Israel had to go through that too. They had to wander in the desert for 40 years. They had to have those highs and those lows. But also take solace in this. I'll close with this: is that passionate people that have the ability to love greatly, or to have great faith. Also, the inverse of that, you have the ability to hate greatly, or to lose faith. These extremes. When you look at the patriarchs, God chose people that were extreme people. King David, Saul, Samson. They weren't milquetoast people. God says, I'd rather you be hot and cold, like we spoke earlier. God seems to choose that sort of people. So if you have that struggle and you just wish, I wish I could just be even keeled and just go through life and have things easy and never have those high highs and those low lows, I wouldn't trade that. I would rather ride the roller coaster, to be honest with you, than to go through life as a milquetoast man. So don't be too hard on yourself. Don't beat yourself up too much. That's the way that it is. And those lows if that's what it takes to bring you back to the faith, then maybe it's not necessarily a bad thing. All right, gentlemen, thank you for hanging out with me. We'll see you guys in the next one.